All right. Hi, everybody. Shelby McDaniel here. We have an exciting interview with Nichole, who was gracious enough to join us. So say hi.
Hi everyone, my name's Nicole.
So we're just going to take a little bit of time to share Nicole's story. We've been working together now for about 3 months, and she's come quite a long way, which is why we're here, which is really exciting. We were just kind of babbling here before we started, and we were confirming that on our first call together. Nichole was like, how do I be one of those testimonials on your website? Or I want to be one of those testimonials, on your website. And here we are 3 months later, which is pretty cool. So thank you, Nichole, again for being here. And this is always, super fun for the both of us, but definitely for you, you really get to just kind of brag about where you've come from and all your wins and how everything's going for you. So let's start. We've got a couple questions, and I know these answers for the most part, right? So this is going to be more, of course, for those that are listening and getting inspired by your story, right? So most people want to know, what was it like before you and I, crossed paths? What were your biggest obstacles? What were the behaviors that you were really out to change? What were the pain points that you were really struggling with, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, so Shelby has learned that I can have, a sarcastic sense of humor. And so when I said I wanted to be one of those testimonials on her website, I was almost kind of joking with my inner self because I didn't think that it could happen. Before I met Shelby, I was in a pretty negative space, I'd say, as far as like my relationship with food. So I have been struggling with random bouts of binge eating since, I want to say, like high school, 15, 16 years old. When there was no one at the house, I'd get home after school before everyone else. And in that private bout of shame, just trying to deal with all the emotions of being a hormonal teenager, right? A high schooler. And I would eat my fillings. And I would eat and I would overeat regardless of the occasion at any other time, whether it was a happy occasion, a sad occasion, we're excited for something, we're celebrating something. I would obsess over the food at any given event or time instead of focusing on the conversation and the people. I was thinking about what I wanted to go back and get seconds and thirds of instead of being a participant in my life. It was kind of passing me by because food was my obsession.
Yeah. And I have that down from our first call. Biggest challenge was the emotional eating all of the time. Then we have the binge eating, especially at night, specifically, right? And then we had the negative, head talk that was kind of running the show. And so coming into our work together, what were your expectations? What were you looking to get out of our work? What were your goals? And what was the final straw that made you schedule that call with me?
Yeah, so I think I was expecting to get out. I had, unfortunately, a couple years ago, just kind of accepted that I will always be overweight and I will always be unhealthy because I had tried for so many years different diet plans, restrictive eating, yo-yo dieting. I'd lose the weight just to gain it right back. And so I'd say I had given up on losing weight. It wasn't any longer the forefront of my mind. I just kind of accepted that I'm always going to be over 300 pounds. And it is what it is. And when I met you and heard your story and heard what you do, and at our initial phone call when we were talking, my goal was not centered around reaching a certain weight, because I knew for me in the past that didn't work. I would get obsessed with the number on the scale, and the first week that it didn't go down at all would be when I would throw in the towel and I would quit that specific diet or that specific fad. So my goal with you was never to reach a certain weight, just because that's unhealthy for me. But it was more along the lines of getting healthy. So I had moved to California 3 years ago, from the South originally, and it's so beautiful out here. I can go outside without the humidity, and there's so many gorgeous parts of nature out here to go and explore. And I would try to go with my friends and I couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
And that kind of bummed me out because I would have fun. I would love the sights, but I couldn't do what they would do. I'm running out of breath. I'm getting tired. I'm getting exhausted. I'm wondering when I'm going to eat, how much rations do I need to pack if we're going to Yosemite for this hike, to make sure that I don't get hungry.
Yeah.
And it was taking away from the pleasures of my life. So my goal with you was really to get healthier.
Yeah. And so what were deep down, I mean, you had already mentioned, okay, I'm never going to change, but then you sort of say, well, maybe I can, when we started to talk, right? What else was it, and this is because everybody has doubts. Everybody has, reservations about doing this kind of work. What were your reservations? Was it like, oh my gosh, like, what if this doesn't work and I'm going to lose out on all this money, or I feel like I'm going to fail again? I remember I remember one of your doubts was that you could find a place where you didn't have to choose between, okay, well, if I want to get where I want to go, then I have to just suck it up and kind of grit my teeth, right? And kind of suffer. Or I say, screw it, and at least I'll be happy and I can kind of do what I want. I remember you kind of felt like you had to make that choice. So did you think that it was possible to find kind of that happy space, or what were some of your other reservations or doubts?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I viewed losing weight as something painful almost, because I viewed it as having to cut out all of the things that bring me joy. And I'm very food motivated. Food makes me happy, but on the flip side, it can also make me sad. And I didn't see a balance between being healthy, but also feeling full and enjoying the food that I could eat. Mm-hmm. And then I'd also say there's the financial side of it. I was definitely worried that I would be throwing more money down the drain, right? Because I've thrown money at food plans before. I've thrown money at gym equipment I never wore before. I've thrown money at things in the past to help me lose weight, and it never panned out. So for sure, that fear of wasting money was there in the back of my mind. But I think it finally got to a point when COVID hit. And out here in California, we went on a very tight lockdown. I'm a school teacher, and so school was canceled. And so I'm sitting at home all day. I can't go out. I'm working kind of like giving kids assignments, but that's not taking up my whole day. And I was really faced with, okay, my eating is out of control at nighttime because that's when I'm home sitting, not being active. During the day, I had done pretty well because I would always be at work, up on my feet, go, go, go.
Yeah.
And now that wasn't a barrier to me eating, the eating was starting to get very much out of control.
Yeah.
And I started gaining weight at the beginning of COVID because I had nothing but time on my hands. And when I need to fill time, I turn to food.
Yep. As many people have done during COVID. So despite COVID and all of these unexpected changes and worries and stressors that so many have experienced here this year, which are astronomical, how have things changed for you? You specifically, so let's look at like your big struggles with like your binging or the nighttime eating, your mindset, right? The emotional eating, or anything else that you want to add as far as how have things changed for you? And it's been, 3 months, right? Just a little over 3 months.
So here goes the mic drop moment, right? Since I've met you and started working with Sylvie, I'm now currently 25 pounds down. And I haven't made any drastic changes. What I feel are drastic changes like I would do in the past. I haven't made any of those. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I haven't restricted and been like, I can't have carbs. I haven't said, I can't have a scoop of ice cream. There's been no cutting out of specific things in my diet for this 25-pound weight loss. It's not like I all of a sudden got up and started going to the gym because the gyms are so closed here. So I didn't go from no gym to gym 7 days a week. That's not what made the difference. And even when I'm trying to describe what you do to my friends or family or people who ask, I call you a psychologist nutritionist. I'm not quite sure what to call you because it's not a here's a food plan, follow this. It's not a let's sit down and go over how much carbs you should be eating. versus, how many veggies. It's not, you need to eat 6 times a day or you need to eat 3 times a day at this time. That's not what you do. That's not what you prescribe. And that's not what made the difference for me. And I think what feels different this time is, in my mind before with diets, it was always, okay, I need to get to this certain goal, get to this certain weight, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
As if, when I got there, I could be done and go back to eating the way that I ate before and wouldn't gain it all back. And that's not how this feels. The work that we've done feels very much sustainable. It feels very much like a lifelong change. And I know that sounds kind of cliche, but what you've taught me, what we've discussed, what I do now, I'm not deprived of anything. I'm not sitting around with a headache because I'm hungry, because I've had 900 calories today, because I'm really trying to lose weight. I'm not unhappy. I don't feel like I have to limit myself to only certain foods. What I'm doing now is very much doable for the rest of my life.
I think that when I think about how your relationship with food has changed, you still like food, but you don't feel out of control around food. And it's become a gentle pleasure in your life, right? I mean, you enjoy, your relationship with pleasure has changed. And I think too, you now finally have unlearned a lot of the diet stuff and have relearned just how to trust you and your body. We just need to understand it a little bit better. And I think that it became just a meaningful part of your life where without it, it's like, no, I want that to be included in my life. It's not a pain in the butt as it once was. It's not a chore, I think, as it once was, right? Anything to add to that?
I agree 100%. I remember us having a conversation very early on. It might have even been the first phone call where I told you I just wanted to be able to eat one of something.
Yep. Oh,
and
that, right
that
here.
seems, and that's so small and
first
so
line, able to eat one of something.
Yeah, and it seems so small and so insignificant, but it's not. And the first time that I was able to do that, because of how much we had talked about how to pay attention to your body, because it does tell you when it's hungry and when it's not. And I know we've learned to override that and just eat anyway for pleasure. But through the work we've done and really learning to tune in and pay attention, I can eat one of something and still be satisfied, and then not sit on the couch for the rest of the night. And the only thing in my mind is, I really want another one of those. I really want to. Don't go get it. You should go get it. Like, that's not what happens anymore. And by no means am I saying it's easy, because anything that's worthwhile is probably difficult.
Yeah.
And change is hard. I know you and I have talked a lot about the phrase, you just have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And a lot of this process was uncomfortable for me because, like I said earlier, you also address the psychology behind the nutrition. It's not just this is what you should eat, but it's, let's talk about why you have the eating habits that you do, and let's dig back to when and where that started, and how can we start to correct those thoughts. And fixing your inner self-critic is not easy for any of the people who have been to a shrink. It's hard work. So the program's not easy, but the program is absolutely worthwhile. And talking to you and having someone like you in my corner is what made all of the difference.
That's awesome. So how has this trickled into other areas of your life in a good way, in terms of some of the lessons that you've learned?
I think the big one is negative self-talk, period, because while it may have happened predominantly around food and body image, for me, that's not the only place that those creep in. That's not the only time you have to deal with self-doubt and self-negativity, right? I would deal with it in my relationship with my significant other, thinking, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. And while some of that tied into me feeling, I was overweight, gross, bad, it it fed into other areas of my life as well, of
Yeah.
feeling insignificant, not enough. And so the negative talk, I would say, is the biggest one that has really improved all areas of my life, not just eating.
Yeah. Copy that. I agree. Concur. And then we'll close out our interview here with, let's say you come across somebody that is in a similar situation as you, Nichole, where they feel broken, or they feel hopeless, or they've done everything. What words of wisdom or encouragement would you say to them?
This is a tough one, and I've
Yeah.
thought about this for a while. And I think I'm just going to have to go kind of with what I have been telling my friends who have the same struggle. And it's never too late. And I just turned 30 this year, and that's kind of what brought forth all of the, it's the big 3-0. And I know that might not sound like anything if you're older, but I'm now out of my 20s, my college years, and I'm supposed to be a grown-up and an adult now, and I'm not where I want to be. And you start getting those thoughts of okay, it's been 30 years. This has always been an issue. It's just going to be an issue forever. And I think the biggest piece of advice is it's never too late to change. And hearing some of the stories from your other clients who are in their 50s, their 60s, and they're just starting this journey and they're having success with it, I think that's something that's very important to remember, because it's easy to brush it off until later and later and later, because in the back of your mind, you think it's never going to happen or it's never going to work for you. And it's
100%.
never to just get started.
Never. It's all about making some different decisions. And sometimes we just don't know what kind of help we need. I mean, we know what we know. And that's how, a lot of people, they don't even know someone like myself exists.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea before I accidentally found you on Eventbrite. I was looking for things to do because COVID had started and I was bored in the house, and you were an online event. And I'm like, I want to learn about how to be healthy while, I'm in COVID and lockdown. Sure, let me attend this. And
ta-da, here we are.
I had no idea someone like you existed, but I'm glad I found you.
Yeah, right? It has been awesome. It has been quite a journey. You really have been an awesome client. And as much as you felt challenged, you showed up like a freaking queen. Honestly, I mean, every week, Nichole was not perfect, nor was that ever, the goal to be perfect, but you always showed up.
Where I cried.
We did. And it's okay. It's all welcome, part of the process, right? But you showed up and you never gave up. And you should be really proud of yourself for that, because not many people will want to do this kind of work. But like you said, it's worth it. Might be feeling a little challenging for a short period of time, but it's worth it. It's worth it, right? Because now we got next chapters, rest of your life, all before you. This is exciting stuff.
I'm ready to go hike and climb a mountain when all of this COVID stuff is over.
I know, when we got a little actual human connection back into our world. Well, again, thank you so much for doing this interview, and I'm extremely, I would say, confident that your story will impact more than one person, because there's so many people just like yourself that have the same struggle, similar mindset, similar doubts and fears. So again, thank you for sharing your story, and we'll wrap this up. So say bye, and we'll stop the recording. And again, thank you.
Bye, everyone. I was not paid to do this. If you think about it, just go do it. I am not a paid, no, just go do it. I'm here.
She's not getting brownie points either.
Yeah, I'm here because it worked for me, and it can work for you. So if you're thinking about it, just go do it.
Aw, thanks, Nichole.
Thanks,
all right, sister. I'm going to pause this. Hang tight.